Hello everybody and welcome back to an actual proper video with a camera and lighting and everything. It's very exciting. It's taken me a while. But anyway, to another video. My name is Kari and today I'm going to be doing a review on a song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne Brown. This book is amazing. Go read it. Now, I will wait while you read it so you can understand the amazingness that is this book. Before I get into the full review though, let's talk about the plot. Just generally, I'm going to make this as non-spoilery as possible, and I will let you know if there are spoilers coming. So, Song of Wraiths and Ruin came out this year, I want to say in May. I could be wrong, I could be horribly wrong, and naturally it just says 2020. It did come out this year. I want to say May or June. I had it pre-ordered because it sounded freaking amazing, and oh my god, was it? I gave it 5 stars, hands down, no questions asked, and I stand by that rating even a week later. Like, this will end up on best books of 2020 for sure. So, story follows 2 people, Kari-ng and Malik. Kari-ng is the princess of this kingdom called Ziran. Ziran? We're gonna go with Ziran. Mostly because I have Spanish pronunciations for things as far as accents go, and that's just sort of, I don't know, I'm weird. Anyway, princess of a kingdom. And every 50 years they have a celebration and a competition to decide what the next 50 years are going to be. Meaning that they have a patron god or a patron deity for every day of the week. So they have wind, sea, fire, sun, etc. I want to say it's the 4 elements, sun, moon, and life. It is. 4 elements, sun, moon, and life. So they have all of those. It's been sun for the past 200, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since they've had anybody but sun. So they all expect the sun champion to win. The gods pick the champion, which basically, for the most part, means whoever dishes out the most cash to bribe their way into it gets to pick the champion. The Sun family tends to be, you know, pretty wealthy, and so they already have their champion picked out and all that kind of fun stuff. Malik, our other main character, is from Eshran, which has been conquered, and basically its people declared persona non grata by the people of Ziran, meaning Kari-ng. Her mother is currently the empress, and her father and her sister, Hanane, again, pronunciation not entirely clear, but that's what I'm going with, were killed in a fire when Kari-ng was about 10, I think. Big trauma in her life, not great, died in a fire, bad. Malik has to become, well, he's decided that he's going to become the champion, so he works his way into becoming the life champion in order to save his sister. He has to kill Kari-ng to save his sister. Kari-ng has to kill him, or more specifically, she has to kill whoever wins, and he's determined to win, because she needs the heart of a king. And whoever wins the competition becomes king. That's the premise of this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. We're gonna start off with the cover because naturally. I mean, you can't get any better than this. It's amazing. Then we're going to go into the fact that there are actual content warnings in the beginning of this book, which is also amazing. So, on the page opposite the map, it says a note from the author. Please note, this book depicts issues of mild self-harm ideation, fantasy violence, emotional and physical abuse, anxiety and panic attacks, parent death, and animal death. So, if you are sensitive to any of those, please be aware when you go into this book, it does have all of these and they are woven throughout the story. But, content warning. Take note, this is amazing. I like these. It's also just really good for triggers in general, so that people going into it are not shocked and go into their own attack, because that's not good for anybody involved. So, benefit number 1, content warnings. Benefit number 2, dual POV. Benefit number 3, she does not italicize anything. Now, This is kind of a controversial point, but for me, I freaking hate it when people, authors, and more specifically, I guess their publishers, I'm not really sure who does it, but between the two of them, when they assume that readers are so unintelligent that they can't figure out from context what a word in a made-up language or even a not made-up language like, Spanish or Swahili or something means in context. I said in context before, but I said it again. She doesn't do that. There are no words italicized in this book. None. You can figure it all out from the context, and it's fantastic. To be fair, I did have to look up the pronunciation of... It's called an open O or something, I think. It looks like a backwards C. I think I've maybe seen it once in a pronunciation guide, but it's not something that's common. However, I am a competent 27-year-old woman. I can look up a damn letter. So I did, and it was great. I appreciated that there was no nothing was slanted. I appreciate that. I appreciate that she didn't overly explain it. I appreciate that we could just read in the book. And nobody explained anything because it explains it in the frickin' context. It was benefit number 3. Benefit number 4. Like I said, 5 stars, gentle friends. So benefit number 4 is what I'm on, I think. The descriptions. Now, this is a decent sized book. It's about 460 pages. Between 460 and 470. So it's not small. It reads very quickly though. It is super well paced, but I'll get to that in benefit number 5. Benefit number 4, going back to, is the descriptions. Like I said, it is not Lord of the Rings length descriptions. You are not stuck in the Shire for a third of the entire trilogy. The descriptions are basically just very simple. I'm trying to find one that is not, a trigger for anybody, because that's not good. There we go. At first glance, the two were quite the mismatched pair. Her maid plain and reserved in all the ways Kari-ng was outgoing and careless. Water-aligned to Kari-ng's wind, thin and lean where Kari-ng was thick and soft. Aminata's tight coils were cut nearly an inch from her head, where Kari-ng's curls poofed out past her shoulders when she wore her hair down. You can envision everything you need from those 4 sentences, whatever it was, I didn't count. The descriptions throughout the book are all like that. They're short, to the point, but still really evocative, so the entire time I was reading this book, it played out beautifully and vividly in my head, because that's what a good author can do. So clearly Roseanne Brown is an amazing author, because she kept that up for 470 pages. Benefit number 5, like I said, pacing. So there are 3 trials, essentially, for the champion competition, and obviously we have to get where Malek is made the life champion, and then we get to each of the trials, and she does the pacing really well. There's no point where you're just sitting there going, oh, this is so boring, why are we here? And there's no point where you can't keep up with it because she's flying past so quickly. She keeps you on the edge of your seat. She gives you those moments of humor. She gives you those moments of heartfelt emotion, and she gives you those moments where all of that is wrapped up in one, but you still know what's going on. You still feel everything that you need to feel. It's fantastic. The theme of this video is read the damn book. Content warnings and everything like that notwithstanding. So please pay attention to those. But benefit number 6, the tropes. Now, we all know I'm not huge on tropes, and the whole now would be a spoiler. So when the book comes back up, then you can come back. But while I talk about this real quick, just the spoilery bit, I'll put it down. So, spoilery bit, her sister is dead, died in a fire, and her mother ends up getting killed during this book. She decides the reason she needs the king's heart is to bring back her mother. It's part of a necromancy spell. By the end of the book, she's decided she can't bring back her mother. That's the worst possible idea. But somebody else brings back her sister, who's been dead for 6 years. And obviously bringing somebody back 10 minutes ago or 6 years, from 6 years ago, they're not going to be the same because, they're dead and you can't bring people back from the dead. But here we are. You know how I feel about people bringing characters back. Cassandra Clare is one of the worst offenders in my eyes for this. She just can't let people die, and it bothers me. Now, I will say that if it's done properly, it's okay. It's very rarely done properly. So that's part of my issue. But back. So the whole bringing people back to life thing, I'm not big on, especially if it's a main character. She does bring a character back, but it is A, done well and to further the plot and not just because she can't let the character go, and B, not either of the main characters. Which is also really important to me because, again, Cassandra Clare can't let her characters go and she brings back main characters after having killed them, which defeats the entire purpose of them dying. Personal belief, but that's what I think. So that was a huge benefit to this book, was that she did it well. One of the other tropes in here, if you couldn't figure out on your own, is enemies to lovers. This is, yes, it's YA, and yes, YA uses a lot of tropes, and yes, that is one of our favorites in the booktube community, is enemies to lovers, because honestly, it's fantastic. Or any real variation of that. Friends to enemies to lovers, vice versa, whatever. Just the general trope is fantastic. She did it incredibly well. It was, I don't know, it was insta-lovey, but it didn't feel insta-lovey until you looked back at the timeline. But even then, it's one of those where it feels good. And I thoroughly enjoyed that as well. One of my favorite tropes, I sort of realized reading this book, I get excited in every book that has it, but I don't usually recognize the why. This book I did. And I think it's because I've been thinking a lot more about tropes since joining BookTube, and specifically the last couple of years, because I've been reading a lot more, and this year's gone to hell, so all of the books in my head. But one of my absolute favorite tropes, is when the person in power, a monarch, just a higher up servant, whatever, the patriarch, etc., can't get their way because of XYZ. So they blackmail the people who aren't letting them get their way into getting their way. And the scene where they do it, and they're just sitting there calmly, chilling, and oh, how's your mother? She's still sleeping with that 20-year-old. And everybody just kind of freezes, and they go, wait, your mother's doing what? That kind of stuff. And this book had that. And I loved it, and I nearly screamed, which would not have been good because it was also 10 o'clock at night and everybody else was sleeping. But oh my god. So those are just two of my favorite tropes in this book, but they're here. Was that benefit 6 or 7? I don't know. But benefit number 7, while it is an enemies to lovers, it's not super in your face. It's just kind of, I don't know, I'd say maybe a third of the plot really, that's very well interwoven throughout the entirety. It is not in your face, it is not the main point of it. And even if it is, it doesn't feel like it is, which to me is important. If the plot doesn't specify romance, I'm fine if the plot specifies there's going to be a giant romance, but this one didn't, so I appreciate that it was not in my face. All of that said, this is an amazing book for all of the reasons above, and so many more besides, but you have to read it to really get the full experience. Amazing, amazing book, beautiful cover, beautiful spine, love the green, and look at that naked spine, oh my gosh. It is a stunning book inside and out, and you need to go read this. So that's where I'm gonna leave you, with a highly encouraging, not so subtle demand, notwithstanding trigger warnings, that you go read this, please, because I need you to. Thanks! That was my review for A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know down in the comments. If you didn't, well, to each their own, I guess. But anyway, I will see you in my next video. Bye.